Alright folks, welcome. It's a new month, a new beginning, a new start, and a new mechanic for the game. So, welcome aboard to the break ride era of Vanguard 0. Before we get into today's video, it is the start of a new month, so I want to thank our channel members. So, huge thank you to Crowned Clown, Very Flores, Platinum Wolf 2009, Cool Kid 9514, Christian Castro, Arcana Master, Navy Carib, Handy Capable, Lo Ri Hrong, Pablo Federico Ancarola, Unknown Hawkeye, and Kyrus Darkblade, Tristan H, Witty Wham Cats, Carrie Barger, Preeper 66, and Barely Raw. So thank you guys so much for supporting the channel, for supporting, what I do here on YouTube. And I also wanted to say, if you like that I have a bunch of these different sleeves here on Vanguard 0 JP. So if you play JP, you might know that we get all these kinds of sleeves, like you see here, the Bermuda ones, like all of these, like the Silver Dust Blaze ones, Butterfly to Moonlight sleeves, these Bang Dream sleeves. All of these come from codes that are like box toppers in the sets that they come from. And I actually have a lot of these spare codes, so I've been giving them away to my Twitch subs as well as YouTube channel members on my own Discord. So when you go to my Discord and link your YouTube channel or your Twitch channel, depending on where you're subbed or channel membered from me from, then you get access to that special chat. And then there I usually give away these kind of codes like every couple days. So if you want to have a chance of grabbing one of them, then just join up there. And so that's another little perk for the YouTube channel members as well. But on that note, let's get back to what this video was really on. In a few days time, or maybe about a week, I'm not sure how soon, I'm going to be doing a video talking about kind of like all the things you need to know about the break ride era, like what to expect, how units are designed, what the mechanic will be kind of shaping up to be, and all that other stuff. But today I wanted to do kind of the same thing as I did last month with the set 8 release and look at my kind of day 1 deck list. So how I built my decks for each of the new supported clans on day 1. And so it's technically day 3 that I'm uploading this, but the lists themselves haven't really changed. If anything, I'm going to start probably doing more testing and changing them up right now, because I got to play in the Vanguard 0 Championship, the first qualifier. It didn't do that hot, but learned a lot from it, and also from the live stream, which we're going to review on my stream, and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to learn, but I want to show kind of the day 1 building process, and then once again the DifferentFights roll around, you guys get to see where did I go with the deck building process, and how you can work with what you have. I also, for this time I didn't get 4 of everything. There are some clans where I'm really missing a couple things here and there, but regardless, I want to take a look at things how they are looking right now, because I think it's always a good kind of way to show you the working point. And I'm going to use the rental deck function. We're not going to do any fights in these as usual, but I am putting in cards I don't have, just to show you how I would kind of start off with these decks if optimized. So I'll look at Eradicators first. This was my main hype from this set, and I initially built them like this. I'll also talk about a bit why I built them like this and how I would maybe change it right now. So this is how I built it at first, kind of full-on Eradicator name apart from the Death Scythes. So basically, Linchu as a starter, because he has the power to snipe anything if he boosts an Eradicator. You can retire anything. This was really nice against the Aquaforce matchup. He still is a very nice starter. You still keep using him, because against the Aquaforce matchup, you can, when they put their Basil or Diamantes at the back, you just pop it. So it's really, really good for that reason, but you got to be careful that Maelstrom doesn't, just self-damage a bunch and take care of it himself. Had to adjust the camera a little bit there, but yeah, so that's Linchu. I've been running the new PGs because this deck doesn't want to get given Limit Break. The Break Ride is also pretty good as well. Just being able to pop something on the Buster, getting a crit from that for free, stuff like that is pretty damn good. So we're running the new PGs. Quite a few decks, even though now they have the new PGs, for example Azel still runs the old PGs, and I think Liberators I've seen too running around with the old PGs too, which is pretty interesting. So I mean, it seems more like an option right now. It doesn't necessarily mean that the new PGs are better, so that's something to keep in mind. Then this card felt like the GOAT to me. Shuki gets plus 3k every time you retire something with an effect. So I was like, well, this is good because you can build up columns pretty interestingly, and you can also go for this nice play where you go on the Break Ride, whose skill is when you ride on top of him at Limit Break 4, your Vanguard gets plus 10k, and you retire your opponent's front row rear guard. So you get to pop an intercept already. Then you would optimally, either they don't have a second intercept, or you pop it with the Death Scythe, or with this guy, who is the Saucer Cannon Wyvern, who has the same skill as Death Scythe, but it can only retire the front row rear guards. So he doesn't care about the grade, but he can only retire the front row. So then you take care of the other piece of the front row, and then you break ride this Descendant, whose skill is Limber Break 4 once per turn when he attacks against the following skill. If the attack does not hit at the end of that battle, you Limber Break. You counterblast 1 and discard 2 Eradicators from your hand. He restands, you draw 2, and he gets a crit. So basically, the draw 2 is there to emulate, drive checks going to hand, and getting extra crit is just like bonus, it's just icing on the cake. So ultimately, what would happen in this scenario is that you'd have this, and then you have like a 12k attacker or an 11k rearguard from your grade 3s. So you have an 11k line, a 21k line because you retired something with a break ride, and he became a 10k. Or you would retire 2 things, so this thing is a 13k, so you can push the 9ks into 22, and then you would push, they would go from 3 to 4 to 5 from your rear guards, and then you would swing with a Descendant when they're at 5, doesn't hit, but he's at like 21k power, or more if you have a booster behind him, and then he just restands, and basically like either ends the game there or takes out their second PG very early on. So that's also very, very nice. So that's kind of like the main thought process behind him being at 4 copies. This is the 10k attacker, not necessarily like has to be at 4 copies, but I was like, he's an Eradicator, so I'll max him out. Now in hindsight, also like this card is the Custer. When placed, if your opponent has 2 or less rear guards, you may discard 1, draw 1. I would drop Custer as well as the Demolition Dragon for 2 copies of Rising Phoenix, because you soul charge a lot thanks to Zuitan, who is the, when he hits, if you have a Eradicator Vanguard, you soul charge 1 and counter charge 1. So you soul charge a bunch, but you don't use it for anything. So you can put in 2 Rising Phoenixes, and even though they're not like they're not Eradicator name, you can drop them on the field and draw something else that most likely will be an Eradicator for your Draconic Descendant discard. He's the only card that cares about having Eradicators. So he's the only one that says literally only discard Eradicator names. So that's something to keep in mind. Then aside from that, yeah, this we talked about. This is the 12k, and that's kind of it. Apart from that, there's just Gauntlet Buster. He gains plus 3k and a crit on Limber Break every time you retire an opponent's rearguard with an effect, and his own effect says counterblast 2 and retire an opponent's random rearguard, prioritizing the back row. Against Taco Force, again, it's pretty fun because sometimes they have 3 units in the back row, with one of them being Diamantes or Basil, and you just high roll and just kill their Basil or Diamantes. It feels pretty good. This is the other break ride, Electric Shaper Dragon. He's, instead of him retiring when you break ride, he says your Vanguard gets the skill that when you retire a front row, you also retire the back row. So this doesn't mesh too well with Eradicators just yet. This works really well with Dungaree though. So I've seen Darkbeam, he who won the one of the qualifying brackets for the Vanguard Zero Championship Summer, he actually basically ran this with Dungaree and then used Dungaree's skill to pop front row and gain crit while also like taking out the back row. So that was a really cool idea that I didn't think too much about. Kind of forgot to think about Dungaree, I guess. So that's pretty interesting. So here's Eradicator. It's kind of my main hype for this set. Next, we have the brand new clan Genesis that was just introduced. Genesis is actually, I feel, pretty strong. I feel like it's being slept on a little bit. And this is kind of like my day 1 build. As you can see, I don't have the 3 Iwanaga Himes. If you're having trouble, this was an interesting thing I saw from the Vanguard Zero Discord, I think. They said, like, if you're having trouble pronouncing Iwanaga Hime, just think, I wanna go home, but replace the home with a Hime. I wanna go Hime. So Iwanaga Hime, kind of, you know? But yeah, so Iwanaga Hime, her skill is to Soul Blast 6 on Limber Break 4 and retire the opponent's front row, so basically taking out the Interceptors, and then she has another skill which is Soul Blast 3 to gain her, give her another 5k power. So she's pretty cool for that effect, to be able to take out front row, so you can just go bash into the face, but then you lose the Battle Phase Soul Blast, which is very, very important. Why is Battle Phase Soul Blast so important? Because your main grade 3, Artemis, says, when she attacks the Vanguard, you Soul Blast 3, and then you draw 2 and put 1 from your hand into your soul, which let you set up your soul for specific cards, and for that battle gains 5k. She also has a Persona Blast, which is a new effect, which lets you look at the top 5 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, and put the remaining on the bottom of your deck. So this is a really cool ability because this lets you fish for PGs, lets you fish for more Persona Blast, so you just like filter your deck and you're able to like keep digging into it, and then you kind of can make a stack if you Persona Blast like 3 times in a turn or something. And aside from that, I mean, being able to like fish out specific pieces, specific cards you want is also very, very appreciated. And she is part of a right chain, so she gains 1k when the grade 2 is in the soul. Then the break ride is Himiko, who also says like when you ride on top of her, she gives 10k to the Vanguard and 5k to 2 rearguards, and also gives the Vanguard is skilled at, it's the same as Artemis's. So Soul Blast 3, draw 2, put 1 in the soul. So for that reason, you want to be doing Battle Phase Retire. But why are you, Battle Phase Soul Blast. Why do you want to be doing Battle Phase Soul Blast? Because of Chamomile. Chamomile says, during your turn, when this unit is put into the drop zone from your soul, you may counterblast 1 to call this unit and it gains plus 3k. So 12k that just spawns out, so we can go Rearguard swing into Rearguard, Rearguard swing into Rearguard, Vanguard swing into Vanguard, Vanguard Soul Blasts, and then Soul Blast like 2 Chamomiles and just call them to the front, and there you go, 2 fresh columns, without, if you didn't boost with the previous attackers. But if you did, you also have the Melissa, who does the exact same thing. During your turn, when put into the drop zone from your soul, counterblast 1, call it, and it gains plus 3k. So you have a 22k line that just spawned out of your soul and basically lets you have 5 attacks, which is very, very good. 5 attacks is strong. It does cost counterblast each time, but I mean, it would be too good if it didn't. So those cards are just insane. Like, Chamomile, in my opinion, definitely deserves the triple rare treatment. This card will be good for Genesis for a very long time, and so for that reason alone, she's very good. Like, forget Iwa Nagahime. You should focus your efforts on crafting this. I still personally believe that this will be the next ranked reward in the second half of August, because they showed us an alternate art Artemis on a stream, and so for that reason, I feel like it should be. Because it's not a tournament reward yet, so I don't think they're going to be holding it for anything else, so I would hold off on crafting this for now if you haven't pulled it yet. But Chamomile, definitely. Like, we don't have any signs of this being like a tournament reward or a rank reward anytime soon, so go for it. But yeah, so she's very, very important. Then the other cards that support it, of course, this is the right chain, so, you know, it does right chain stuff. The grade 2 of the right chain says when it hits the Vanguard, you soul charge 2, and if the grade 1 is in the soul, then you can also soul charge another 2. So soul charge 4 for free is really good. Keep in mind, your other best soul charger is the Sahohime, who basically says when her attack hits a Vanguard, you counterblast 1 to soul charge 3. So there you're paying counterblast 1 for 3, whereas the right chain does 4 for 0 if you ride it correctly. So that's also very good. I'm running 2 of the on-hit counterblast 2 to draw, just to keep your hand filled. As you see, I'm running 9 draws. A lot of people are experimenting with stands and crits in this, but I feel like you only unlock the drawing when you're at limit break. So until limit break, if your opponent just doesn't give you limit break, like, and just takes out your units, you're not actually like making any advantage anywhere, so you're just losing out on cards. So it's like you're gonna run out of steam and your opponent's just gonna take you from 3 to 6, and that's gonna be it. So that's why I'm running cards like this and the draw triggers and stuff like that. Playing 1 Kumin just for the extra soul charge, that's about it. So this deck I feel is pretty good. I personally don't only have 1 Iwa Nagahime, so I'm playing 4 of the Mizuha. Mizuha is also a battle phase soul blast. She says when she attacks the Vanguard in Limerick 4, soul blast 3 and she gains 5k and a crit. And then also when she attacks the Vanguard, she gains another 3k. So she hits for 18k on her own. And again, battle phase soul blast means that you can also respawn your attackers. So that's very, very cool. And I think for that reason, I'm fine with running like 4 Artemis, 4 Mizuha, 4 Himiko, 1 Iwa Nagahime. But if you have the Iwa Nagahimes, I think they're still better to run, just for the reason that, you know, it's a very strong ability to be able to just pop the front row, you know, it really will win you games. So for that reason, it's pretty damn good. Moving on, we're taking up a little bit of time this time around. This was the most, I don't know, Japan seems to be pretty pleased with the deck. I personally think it's a little bit disappointing, which is, well, Liberators. So Liberators they have 0 animations for whatever reason. They don't have a single animation, not for Blaster Blade Liberator, not for Gancelot, not for nothing, not for Alfred, nothing, literally nothing. I don't get why, but I mean, it is what it is. So this build, again, keep in mind that like these builds, they're really, really subject to change. Like, again, these are day 1, so look out for my deck and fights. I'm going to make them once the meta is a bit more explored, once I know better what I'm talking about, you know, what the list really should be looking like, once we have more tournament coverage and stuff like that. But for now, this is like, if you want to jump in, if you pulled the cards, I want to play with them, just hop into it. So this is what I kind of built up for Liberators. The key card being the new Gancelot. He's a break ride. When you ride on top of him, gain 10k, and 3 of your rearguards get 5k. I'll get to that point in a second. And then if you rode a Liberator, then you search a Blaster Blade Liberator from your deck and add it to your hand. If it's not in your deck, then you can add it from your drop zone. So at first, I mean, this effect was always that pretty great as a break ride in the CCG, but then I was like, wait, you almost always only have your back row to yourself, so realistically you're always giving that extra 5k to just your back row units, which means you always have to have a full back row, which you don't always do, because you have 13 grade 1s, 4 of those are your PGs, therefore you only have like 9 grade 1s to choose from. Will you have drawn into them by turn 3? I don't know, you know, so it's like, in many situations, like, you just have to like play 3 cards down in the back row, and just like, if you're not playing against Narukami, you're fine, or Kagero, you're fine. But like against other decks, Well, I mean, like, against those decks, you will run into problems where you just, like, get lost units and just, you know, that's it. You can't even power them up anymore. So, I don't know, I think I need to play around with this card a bit more. For now, I was feeling a bit underwhelmed by it. It is a free effect, so it's like, especially the search is really, really fine, but yeah, I just felt a bit weird. I'm playing one Platinum as my flex slot because there's, like, random Liberators you can run as a one-of, but honestly, like, the only, like, search effect for, like, Escrad is a search effect. He's just a Vivian on, like, when it hits Vanguard. If your Vanguard's a Liberator, can almost one call the top card of your deck. So this only looks at your Vanguard being liberated, not even the top card of the deck. The only card that looks at whether you call the Liberator or not is the Alfred. So Alfred, first he has a on attack Limerick skill. For that battle gains plus 2k for each of your Liberator rear guards. So there you don't want any non-Liberators on your rear guard circle, but I mean, you're not going to call your Platana there anyway. But then his other skill is Vanguard and rear guard circle. This is the important part. They put his skill also on rear guard circle, which is very, very strong. You can count us 2, look at the top 4, and call a Liberator from among them. So that's why I think running the 1 Azel is fine. Like, you can even run more non-Liberators, I feel. That's why the Japanese players are running, like, the old PGs, I think. So it's pretty fine, especially because this, like, superior call skill isn't even limit break, so it's pretty damn neat, I would say. Then the other break ride is the Bleoberis, I think he was called. So Limerick 4, when you ride on top of him, you may counterblast 1. If you do, your Vanguard gets plus 10k, and you call the top 2 cards of your deck. So a direct plus 2, which is very, very strong. Even if you call triggers, or even if you call, like, garbage, it's still 2 cards on your field that you can make use of. You can do something with them, and that's always good. And, like, sometimes you'll just high roll into something and just, you know, like, double intercept or something, you know, and it's just gonna be great. Or Josephus. Josephus says when he's called from the deck, if your Vanguard is a Liberator, Soul Blast 1, draw a card. So it's like, for things like that, it's pretty damn good. So those are kind of like some of the key cards for the grade 3s. For grade 2s, I found out how great Stormbring Dragoon is for Narukami in being able to search out your cross rides, your like base forms, as well as your, like, important grade 3s, and I was like, well, this deck likes all of its grade 3s being searched, or, like, riding any of its grade 3s, so I was like, why not run this? So Lionette says, when his attack hits a Vanguard, count +1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and add a grade 3 from among them to your hand. So I was like, dope. You know, if golds have a Stormbring Dragoon, why not run it? Because you can fetch out your break ride if you only had, like, Alfred in hand, or, like, you know, fetch out your other break ride if you want to switch in between. Just fetch out your Alfred if you need the superior ride, like, all that kind of stuff. I felt like that's a pretty good effect. Running a few of the 12k attackers as well when you have a Liberator Vanguard, and of course Blaster Blade Liberator himself, the current ranked reward. That's why I'm not, like, grinding for him. I'm just staying with my 2. When placed, Vanguard rearguard circle. If your Vanguard is a Liberator, count +2, retire any rearguard. So that's a pretty good effect. It's a little bit costly, but if I'm not mistaken, they do get a counter charge eventually that is Liberator specific. Speaking of Liberator specific, we have Bruno. Bruno says when another one of your rearguards is placed from the deck, if your Vanguard is a Liberator, then he gains plus 3k. So this card is already pretty neat because it's a big bulky booster that can just, like, add up power and power and power. But on top of that, once Bluish Flames come out, this will be a very, very important tool for the deck. Or just in general, as the Liberator archetype continues to evolve, this will be a very important tool for the deck. So Bruno is actually pretty damn good, like, really should not be slept on. And then one Marin is a 10k attacker, so just Liberator name. So that's kind of how the Gold Paladin deck looks like. It's pretty decent. Like, I think I need to test with this the most. I think I played the least games with this, and I felt the least impressed, so just gotta run a few games some more, like, just test with the deck, see what else it is made of, because right now it feels a little bit underwhelming. Finally, this is the pure Beast Deity list that I've been kind of looking at. So I don't think this is the best way to play Novas just yet, but there's still a lot of, like, messing around that I gotta do. So for now, I mean, one of the early ideas I had was just like, oh, I mean, pure Beast Deity sounds pretty good because you get a front row restand with your Ethics Buster, and then your Luminal can either continue the restand for the full field, or after your break right turn, your Luminal is just gonna do more restands. So why are the restands so good? So first things first, Ethics Buster gives 10k to your Vanguard when you ride on top of it at Limerick 4, and gives a skill that when your Vanguard attacks, you stand your front row. So that's pretty nice because you can swing rear into rear, rear into rear, and then restand them for a total of 5 attacks that turn. That's pretty hot because you have cards like Golden Anglet who get 4k when restood. As well as Yamato no Drake also gets 4k when restood. So very, very nice for that reason. So this becomes that's a PG. This becomes 13, and then 17, and then 21 if you manage to restand it that many times. Whereas this is going to be 14, 18, 22. Again, like, really nice scaling. Keep in mind, though, that's without boosting. So just, like, swinging, like, this and this into this into rears, you know, they're swinging for their base numbers, but then on the first restand, they're already swinging for great amounts. Then on top of that, you can restand them with the Blank Marsh, who also, you know, is just like when his boosted attack is a Vanguard, count +1, put him into the soul, and restand a Beast Deity. So that's why we gotta run a lot of Beast Deities. For now, I'm running Rhyhorn as a starter, who says like when the unit in the same column that is a Beast Deity stands, you also stand him. So that's a very nice, just like extra bonus. Like you basically just get a eternally restanding booster. So some people like to run the White Tiger, who also works the same way as Blank Marsh, but I feel like it's worth testing around right now with Rhyhorn. But yeah, so like, apart from that, I mean, Illuminal Dragon is from last set, so it's just on attack, count +2, restand 2 of your Beast Deities. And then we got 10k Vanillas, so they're Beast Deities. We got the Hatred Chaos, who is a 12k attacker for Beast Deities. I'm still running some Kiraras just for the extra draw power, and also they got their own Luckbird, which is Energy Charger, who says Soul Blast 2 and draw a card. And now we have selective Soul Blasting, so you don't accidentally Soul Blast your Crossride. Well, we're only really running one Azure Dragon, so you're probably never going to Crossride. He's again just here for the name of Beast Deity, so you can restand him with your Illuminal. So this is like a very bare bones deck. I'm running 3 8k vanillas because if you remember, this becomes a 13 after its first restand, so then if you put a 8k behind it, it's 21k column, so that hits for magic numbers against defensives and stuff like that. So this is like the kind of bare bones Nova's list for like, you know, pure Beast Deities if you want to mess with that, but I will be putting in more time of testing different Nova variants, and I think maybe in like a week's time or something we can take a look at some other builds, but definitely there's a lot to be explored right now because of the fact that ethics is generic, and you know, it's just like, you know, there's quite a few archetypes already in Novas that allow us to do some more tinkering. But yeah, so I feel like it's pretty cool. This set is overall very, very nice. It brought some just fresh life into the game. The meta feels very, very diverse right now because like the break ride decks are good but not too good, and at the same time the decks from the last set, like the ultimate break decks, are still very amazing. Like Dungaree still showing up. I think the Vanguard Championship had, we're gonna look at the results tomorrow, or no, the day after, sorry, but it had like a Great Nature top, it had a Spike Brothers top, so like a bunch of decks from just like the last set or two are still doing super well. So it's like, this definitely doesn't feel so much like power creep, it's just more of like you know, bringing in a different mechanic and bringing in more decks to the format. So definitely feels very good. If you're playing ranked though, definitely expect Eradicators a lot. So you'll be seeing my like changed up and like refined versions of decks through DifferentFights. Of course, for Genesis, you're probably going to be seeing more of like a I tried to build what I could with what I had kind of build, right? Because like, I mean, I don't have 4 of these and I'm not planning on making them either. I will definitely try to craft my last chamomile, but that's like as far as I'm willing to go for this clan right now, because I wasn't initially planning on building it at all, but I mean, I just so happened to pull most stuff, so that was pretty neat. But yeah, like my most of my focus will be going to this and Novas, and also learning this better so I can actually present it well in the actual deck and fight. So yeah, that was it for these day 1 deck lists. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer them when I can. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.